Okay, this is the training video, and what we're going to be starting out with is the primary protocol. And what we're showing here are your basic supplies. Your first step that you're going to be testing is the outside of the distal end of the working end of the endoscope, which you remember is called the bending section. So you take a surface swab, and starting from the 20 or the 10 mark, you're going to swab the surfaces. Again, make sure that your swab is bending and that you're twirling the swab and that all surfaces have been tested. Once you're through swabbing, then you measure just like you measure for your environmental surfaces or your surgical instrument application. You just activate, shake horizontally for 5 to 10 seconds, and then insert to the luminometer and get your reading. And that will complete your testing of the exterior surface of the distal end. Your next step is going to be gather your supplies to test the suction biopsy channel. First thing you want to do is put the distal end into whatever sample collection cup that you've got going. You want to make sure that that distal end is not going to be covered by the 40 mils of water. Put your connector on the light guide end and then get 40 mils of water into your syringe. So once you've pulled up your 40 mils of water, you then want to take this syringe and connect it to the connector that's on the light guide end. Now here, for purposes to show you the camera shot, we're picking up the control head to actuate the suction valve. This can actually be done while the endoscope is laying flat on the surface. So while you've actuated the valve, we're pushing the 40 mils of water through, and you may get some of that 40 mils coming out into your sample cup, but in order to make sure all 40 mils are pushed through, you need to remove the syringe and pull the syringe back and get 60 cc's of air in there, and then put it back on the connector and use that air to push the rest of your sample through the suction biopsy channel, and then you'll see that coming out into your sample collection cup. And we've got 40 mils, and as you can see, the distal end is hooked so that that distal end does not dip into your sample. That's really important. Once you're done with that, let go of the valve, and that completes your sample collection. What we're going to do now is look at the alternate procedure. Some people do not like to actuate that valve and hold it down. They'd rather have that plugged up. So you remove that valve, and that's again the suction biopsy valve, and you're going to be putting in a plug or a stopper. So you want to put it in firmly. If it's too firm, the water is going to be really hard to push through. So if you're getting a lot of resistance, go back and loosen it up a little bit, and then your water should run through more smoothly. The rest of the procedure goes pretty much just like the procedure we just saw. You put your connector on the light guide end, draw up 40 mils of water, and then once you've drawn that up, you'll just connect that back onto the connector. You always want to make sure to cap anything that you don't want to get dirty, so I always cap the water off before you move on to your procedure, just in case something spills. You'll be able to catch some of it at least. In this alternate protocol, you've got the green plug keeping your sample from leaking out through the suction valve. Now you have a hand free to actually hold that distal end into the sample cup while you push the water sample through the scope. Again, you do not want that black distal end in the sample collection tube to go below the 40 mil mark, or you'll contaminate your sample. Same as the last procedure, you want to remove the syringe, pull back to 60 cc's to get air to push the rest of your sample through to the sample collection tube. And this completes your sample collection for the alternate protocol. We do recommend that you go with the first protocol rather than the alternate protocol, just because it's actually easier once you get used to it. and you don't have so many parts to take care of. You always want to cap your sample after it's taken to avoid any problems with spillage. Next thing you're going to do is test your water sample for ATP levels, and so we're going to use the ATP water test, which is a molded plastic honey dipper apparatus with sample collection rings. You want to dip this just to the tapered collar, and dip it right up to that level. Carefully insert that into the sleeve, recap your sample, and then this gets treated just like the surface test. You actuate, shake back and forth for a good 5 seconds, and then read in the luminometer.